Hello, career thought leaders and resume writers. Today, we are talking about how you can use AI in your resume writing and how you want to be careful about that so that it doesn't get in your client's way. So, we are here for Friday in Career Services. We come here every other Friday to talk about how we can use AI in our work because we know that it's important that our clients learn how to use it. It's such a powerful tool. We don't want to dismiss it just because of its shortcomings, but we do want to be aware of those shortcomings so that we can use it in a way that helps our client. So, what I am seeing a lot right now, we're going to talk about some of the challenges, some of the things to watch out for, and then we're going to talk about how you do want to use it. Because remember, just because there are some challenges doesn't mean we want to avoid it completely. Then we're missing out on some really awesome things that it can do. And we'll talk about those here in just a minute. So, what are some of the things to watch out for your clients in your resumes? If you're a person that's using AI to write your resume, here are a few things to watch out for. When you are writing a resume, a AI system, pretty much no matter how much it has been prompted or targeted, does some of the same things over and over again. And I've been inside of systems that are specifically created to do resumes. They do these same things. I've given some of this feedback to some of the tools that are writing resumes, writing cover letters, because we see the same things over and over and over again. They are built from the large language model. So you've got billions of data points put into the system that is training it how to write. So unless you are not only just prompting the system, but putting in your content and also then editing on the back side, it is going to do some of these things. Here's what to watch out for. The first is an overuse of terms like successfully. And when you write, especially a cover letter with AI, it will use successfully over and over and over again. It will use it in the resume, it will use it in the cover letter. It just loves that word. And I teach writers not to use that word at all. Why? Because I want you to show me why it was successful, not tell me that it was successful. And if you can't show me that it was successful, then we've got to dig deeper into the story, the metrics, the outcomes, who it impacted, so that we can put that onto the resume. We want accomplishments on there, but successful turnaround is just superfluous. We don't need that word. If you turn something around, it was successful. So be careful of that in your writing. Be careful of that if you're using AI to help you write. Here's the other thing that I'm seeing is that AI likes to make up numbers. So what I'm seeing from writers as well as individuals is that they're going, ooh, AI wants me to put a number in here. So even if they aren't keeping the made up number, which most people have figured out isn't a good idea, they're trying to shove a number in there when sometimes it doesn't make sense. So I'm seeing numbers being included in statements where it doesn't align with benchmarks or common sense. It just doesn't make it work. So I'm seeing some people say, achieved 100% of this, where yeah, if you didn't achieve 100% of that, you probably would have gotten fired. Or they're putting something like had a 95% success rate for something where, again, if you didn't have a 100% success rate, you probably would have been fired. So we want to think about what numbers make sense. We love numbers. We love to do scope and oversight and all of those numbers, in addition to, of course, improvements and dollar figures and those things. It all has to make sense, though. It can't be forced. It's got to make sense. It's got to be benchmarked. Is this relevant for the industry? It's got to be relevant to the actual company. So sometimes you may not want to share scope if the scope is way off from the industry that you're targeting. So for instance, if you oversaw 3 people and in your new job, you're going to oversee 100, you've got to be careful about how you share that scope, and does that make sense to share? So we want to be thoughtful about numbers. We don't want to just include them because AI is telling us to. Yay, glad. Thank you for joining us. We are talking about things that AI does in resumes that we want to be careful of. So we've talked about successfully, we've talked about numbers. Last one is ensuring. Oh my goodness, does AI love ensuring? This is actually one of our professional resume writing students, because in our ACRW course, we teach you how to use AI for parts of the resume process. I'm not hot on it for actually writing content, but we do teach you how you could do that. And I always tell our students that I don't care if you use AI to help you write, but if I can tell, we're going to have you rewrite it. And we're seeing some resumes come in where it's every single sentence has ensuring. It seems to be Perplexity, especially, loves to write resume bullet points with that flow. So, did this, ensuring that. We know in good resume writing that you actually want to lead with the result, which takes away the need for ensuring, and it gives you lead with that result. Also, ensuring doesn't tell me what your role was. If you were the leader, manager, director, creator, I want to know that, because ensuring doesn't tell me those specifics. If you were the implementer, the executor, the one that was making it happen, find a verb that better fits that, because ensuring isn't a verb any employer is going to be looking for. So those are some red flags to watch out for when you're using AI to help you write content. But let's get down to the real reason that we need to be careful with AI. Well, and let's talk about maybe why there's so much desire to use it right now. So I'm seeing people talk about the number of applications that they need to submit. On my LinkedIn post recently, I've been talking about the number of applications and how that's tripled from 2021 to 2024. The applications per open position have tripled. So there's a lot of pressure on job seekers to meet the match, right? To get through the ATS, to have the right keywords. And applicant tracking systems are, they may be looking for those words, they may be scoring for those words. I promise you that 95, maybe even 99% of the time, you are not getting automatically rejected because you don't have enough keywords. The systems, most of them don't even do that. The reason you might be automatically eliminated is because you answer a question in a way that doesn't fit with what they're looking for. Are you authorized to work in this country? Are you, do you have 5 years of XYZ experience? Those questions are more likely to be knockout questions than you being kicked out because you don't have enough keywords. However, if you don't have enough keywords, you're not matching what the employer's looking for, but it goes so much deeper than keywords because it's about strategy. And this is actually where AI can help, because AI can tell you which stories matter. What do employers care about? What are the challenges? We want to dig deeper than just the job description. Yes, we can put in the job description and analyze it, but we want to think about, what is a hiring manager in this role really worried about? What are they, what keeps them up at night? What are they hoping for? What do they really want in a candidate? And we can do a lot of research to figure that out. Of course, talking to people in the field is always great. And you can actually ask an AI system that, if you've got a specific job, company, hiring manager in mind, you can ask, what's the challenges in the industry? What's the challenges for this role? What is this hiring manager looking for? And it's going to give you great content to get the real strategy for your stories. So it's not just the keywords. Yes, we want to go back at the end and make sure that our keywords match a given job description, but it goes so much deeper than that. And AI can really help you determine that, in addition to, of course, your own knowledge, your own research of the industry, talking to people. You can put all of those together. Probably don't want to use AI as just a single data point if you're very unfamiliar with an industry, but it can be a good starting point. So here's the thing. We can know which stories are important from AI, but it cannot tell your stories. Unless you already have a bunch of content in an old resume that is specifically targeted to the job that you're aiming for now, AI is going to have a hard time doing that for you. I've played around with it. I'm using it. Like, I know it can do it, and I force it to, but that's because I already know the strategy I'm aiming for. If your clients or you are putting something in and trying to have AI write it to the new job from the old job, what happens is that it makes stuff up. It makes it weird, Perplexity especially, and it forces the thing. It just sounds weird because it's taking the old statement and it's trying to force it into the new world. Instead, what we want to do, especially when we're career transitioning, federal to civilian, military civilian, one industry to another, doesn't matter. We really need to think about what is important in this new industry, which of my stories matter, and what about that story really matters. We have to have some thought process about that too. Then we can put that into AI and we can have it help us pick out the pieces that are important, what matters. What my favorite thing actually to use it for is what other questions should I be asking to get great content that aligns to this new focus? Because should I say 90% of the resumes I see don't have great content. They don't have detail, they don't have accomplishments. And so if you ask AI to write from that old content, old saying, junk in, junk out. But it's more than that. It's that you're just not using the tool well, because the tool can help you figure out what should I do. So for instance, I was working with a coach who's working with a client. So I'm one person removed. And they sent in a resume of a teacher who's looking to go in for social work. And the resume had 3 bullets for each job about teaching. So I put that into Perplexity. No other content except for, here I've been a teacher, here's 3 bullets. I didn't even put the organizations, doesn't matter. So here's the 3 bullets I had for teaching. What questions can I ask this client to get more content that's related to social work? And it gave me 15 questions, so that even if we couldn't answer all of them, we can answer some of them to dig out content from that teaching job that is more related to social work. But we cannot ask it to write social work bullets from that teaching experience because it doesn't know what we did. It can say, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do this? Because it can draw the dots, but it can't tell our stories for us. And there's many issues with trying to get it to, not just that your stories sound funky, but also that then you don't own it, right? You don't have the confidence, you didn't connect the dots in your brain so that you can tell those stories in an interview and beyond. Oh, hi, Melanie. So good to see you. Yes, love it. Using AI to interpret career assessment results. Yes, some great ways that we can use it. I love that. So we can ask, I've done this. What should I ask myself to dig for the skills to do that? Then you've got to actually answer the questions, come up with the stories. You could dictate that into AI and have it help you write. You just have to be careful because, again, it's large language model automatically going to add in some of those things that we don't necessarily want. And it may not catch some of the specifics that are important. It is those specifics that make it obvious it's your story, not an AI generated story. Now, that doesn't mean we want all the detail. we do have to think about what detail is important, but if there aren't any specifics, it feels like generic AI wrote this, or you copied it out of a book. Doesn't really matter which way you got it, that if it feels generic, it just doesn't feel real. And I have a hard time thinking you're going to be able to step in and do this job. But in that same resume, we just had a lot of fun with this. So the person had also been in school for social work recently and didn't have anything in that school experience. So Anthony, I know you're helping students do something like this, but I said, okay, what projects might this person have done in their social work undergraduate that I could use on the resume? And it gave me a list of like 15 possible projects. Did my client do all of those? Probably not. But if they look through that list of 15, it might spur their memory about what they did do. Oh yeah, I did do a case management project. Or, oh yeah, I did do a needs assessment project, right? It gave me 15 different ideas of projects that students would do in a social work program to help my client remember. Then I asked it to write some sample bullets from those projects so that they could see how that project could be translated into the resume. Now they can't copy and paste that project story because it's not theirs, but now they do have an example of how to take their social work undergraduate project and turn it into a bullet for their resume. So we went through each experience, their teaching. I think they had worked at a daycare. We went through each experience and asked what questions should I be asking to pull out more social work related content from this job. And then we could go through and answer the questions that were relevant and appropriate and get great content for the resume. And all of a sudden we went from having 9 bullets that were like 5 words each on the resume to having a full-filled page of how those experiences related to the social work job. I love it. Yeah, so much fun. So don't throw it all out. Don't say, oh, AI is generic, so I'm not going to use it. Use it for research. Use it for digging the connect the dots questions. Use it to, you can even use it to help you write some of that content. You just have to be careful. You can use it to identify gaps. So what keywords am I missing from this job description? And then you can ask it for suggestions to fill those gaps. But I don't recommend asking it to target the resume for you, because what it tends to do is take out the specifics of your story so that it can fill in those generic keywords. We want to be able to get the keywords in while still keeping the specifics of the story, which for the most part means that the human has to do it. We have to do that editing. So play around with it. You can ask it to do it, but just be careful of that drawback. And at the end of the process, is a really powerful thing to do, put that resume in with the specific job description and ask, where are the gaps? What keywords am I missing? It will almost always come up with something, and you can say, am I missing any? But it's really, it wants to say yes. So you don't always have to take its output as you've got work to do, but you can do that. The last thing I'll say is that there's also some talk going around about how you can ask AI, is your resume applicant tracking system friendly? That's a bunch of bahooey, right? You really don't need that. It will say, well, you're not using tables or columns. Great. I hate to break it to them, but columns and tables do work in most applicant tracking systems. They just may filter in there funky. And that doesn't necessarily mean that your resume is easy to read, which is what recruiters want. Formatting is not the problem. Your resume is not getting stuck in applicant tracking systems because of formatting. It's getting stuck because of focus. Perhaps if you're really outlandish with your formatting and submitting a picture, the resume that's all on a picture or it's all in a text box, it could be the problem, but probably not. Focus on the content, have AI help you with the content, and keep the format easy, readable, clean, one column, because that's how our eye reads, and we're not writing newspaper, we're writing a resume. So we've got to keep it easy, keep it clean. You don't need an applicant tracking system to tell you about those things. So if you're using AI, that's amazing, good. Keep using the tool for where it adds value. Be careful of those areas where it can get funky, where it can, bland out your story. We don't want to do that. Let it help you know which stories are important, which stories you want to include, and to connect the dots between what you've been doing and what you want to do now through strategy, but not necessarily having it write the things for you. And we are just loving these Friday conversations, and we will be talking about other topics as we go through. If you have other topics you'd like us to share, feel free to let us know. We do have coming up this Wednesday our AI in resume writing credential. We have a micro credential in AI and resume writing. So if you're interested in that, drop me a note and we'll drop the link so that you can check that out. It's just one session on AI and resume writing from start to finish so that you can see examples, play around with the tools a little bit yourself, and have a process for using AI in your work. All right, everyone, have a great weekend. Happy Easter if you celebrate, and we will see you in a couple of weeks here on Friday in Career Services. Thank you, everyone.